Right? Maybe you can do 5. I don't know if I can do 5. We'll see. I hope that I got the spring cranked up there. Ha! Let's try that one more time.
And try to hit you with the old wacky till I get flashed by the paparazzi. Man, these niggas got me. I hate these niggas more than I do.
We're back for part 2 of the Chris Dave lesson. So in part 1, I showed you some basic groove fundamentals, some groove fundies. And I promised you that in part 2, we would look at some cool ways to fill, some Chris Dave-esque stuff that you can deploy on stage. And the first couple are just sort of ways to create surprise, and the last one, I promise, if you can play it at tempo, will get the shorties on their feet. What? The first thing we're going to talk about is just a reorchestration of the... And instead of just hitting the cymbal on 1, which is kind of boring, like... I mean, that's where everyone expects it. Yeah, there are times to hit the cymbal on 1. But one thing you might want to consider is... So let me count that out for you. It'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. And another way to think of it is we've already learned the counting for the... Right? Triplet, 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 triplet. So in other words, it's, if you're thinking in double time, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, the first 2 triplets of beat 4. So let me play that in context for you one more time. 1, 2, 3. Etc. So that's one thing to consider. Another fill that Chris does consistently during the medley with the Dilla Tribe track is he'll start in the same place. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But then he'll do this offset triplet thing for a bar. So that'll sound like this. And I want to talk to you briefly about what that is. This is just a metric modulation of a 4-beat pattern, 2 triplets. So if your quarter is here, if you're thinking of the pattern in 8s, it would just be 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And if your quarter's here and you're thinking in triplets, the triplet pulse would of course be triplet, 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 1. So what happens if you take this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and modulate it to triplets? It'll sound like this. Does that sound familiar? So if you were to keep the beat going and play that metric modulation of 4-note pattern over the triplets over the top on the hats, it would just sound like this. 3, 4. That's all well and good, and you could fill something like this. Except that Chris is feeling the phrase as beginning on beat 4 if we're feeling this in double time. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, it'll be 1, 2, 3. The other hip thing he's doing is he's kind of getting meta and interrupting the flow of the groove. So he'll literally just suspend what he's doing groove-wise to play this thing. So And you can also extend that phrase. I think he's got the detuned snare on the right-hand side. I've got the low tom. Yeah, you like that? So you could extend that out for more than a bar. So etc. So I encourage you to experiment with that. Okay, so now the last one I'm going to show you is the Money Lick, which is from the Kanye West Flashing Lights cover, which is part two of the medley. And it's the fill at the very end of the chorus.
Till I get flashed by the paparazzi. Damn, these niggas got me. I hate these niggas more than I got.
Where it goes back into the beat, and I think you'll recognize it. 3, 4. Right, let me play that again for you a little slower. 3, 4. What are the primary things we can pull out of that? Obviously this. Okay, so assuming we're not trying to practice Chris's like whole thing literally, which is like, it's a little like taking a snapshot of a bolt of lightning. Like there are so many different ways he can go with that idiom. It's a little bit irrelevant to copy one particular snapshot of it literally. Part of the reason I do this is just to kind of show the newcomers to the channel that I can. Which is not even that big a deal. It's just I put the time in to transcribe it because I respect your time watching me. So how would you practice this? I would just take the first bar, or I would just take the first part literally and alternate it with the groove. So you could do and we'll go on, but let me show you a good metronome placement for that. This is quarter note equals 170. And I'm going to feel this on the offbeats. So if you're thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, so there's an interesting thing. It's actually a 5-bar or 5-beat phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a couple lessons ago, I talked about 5-viola. So one way you could mess with this phrase, which is right, and in my coaching course module 11, I have everybody practice idioms sort of like this, which I got from Thomas Pridgeon, but starting both on beat 1 and beat 4. So let's say we want to start that 5-viola on beat 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there are a few other directions you can go with it. And another useful thing for this is actually... So what does that do? That's like a nice fast twitch bass drum warm-up. And he's just playing triplets. So 2 and 3 and 4, triplet, triplet. So you could alternate with your groove with that too. Like what's the minimum number you can do, or what's the max number you can do in a row? Let's say it's tough to get 3 in a row with the kick. So already you've got like a super abstract Chris Dave thing happening there. And you could add one more, so you could do 4. Right? Maybe you can do 5. I don't know if I can do 5. We'll see. I hope that I got the spring cranked up there. Ha! Let's try that one more time. Ooh, so there's a one. So you can work into that. Ah, so there's one. Something. So hopefully in these last 2 lessons you've felt that I've introduced you in kind of an accessible way into the drumming of Chris Dave. It's pretty easy to play things on the surface. It's pretty easy to transcribe them and play them verbatim. But what I try to do with this channel, what I try to do in general, is get you into the meta process of, well, what did Chris practice to come up with that? And how can you practice it so that not only is what you're playing in the moment your own lick, which still sounds Chris Dave-ish, so people think it's hip, but something that you can deploy from multiple directions and that you think of instinctively, and not that you're going along thinking, okay, time to deploy that Chris Dave fill. So guys, one more time, if you are interested in finding out more, if you're interested in the 80/20 drummer coaching course, which is like 6 months of lessons with me for around the price of a single lesson, I recommend your gateway drug, your handy video, the 80/20 roadmap. Most drummers suffer from some version of the same 3 mistakes. The 80/20 roadmap will help you triage those and bust through. Essentially, it's the lowest hanging fruit. The ethos of this channel is Pareto's principle that 20% of inputs are often responsible for 80% of outputs. So by finding the small 20% that affects the larger 80%, you can improve more quickly. And I will say that if you're interested in playing clean, like those type of rudimental things that are like contemporary and gospel and hip hop oriented, the roadmap will really give you a steady foundation into that. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this. I will be back soon with another lesson of the week. Always enjoy doing this. Thanks so much, guys. Peace. Let's say we want to start that 5 viola on beat 4. Babe, can you get turmeric powder? Hell yes, I can.